style of deck. I have heard a little bit of what he's doing here. Was there anything... Let me take a quick look at Darker's list here. Did you think it was an interesting one?
I do. Yeah, I like. It's not a deck that I really expected to see, so it's kind of cool for that.
Oh. Oh. Actually, it's kind of the deck that I think InfamousNeo will be happy to play against. Uh, so here we go. Turn one. Is this all up on? It is. Featured match looks good. Try to get the cup over there. Technically.
Oh, I have to try to get the cup too. All right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Come on, you get that cup everywhere. Make it spin. Put a little chain necklace on it with a dollar sign.
Bling it out, huh?
Yeah, come on, man. This is up to you. So good luck, have funds exchanged, and an early play from both of our opponents. They play a shard. Very interesting. What do you think about this, JJ?
I think that's a pretty good start, but I like the Sapphire Shard probably a little better than
a little more than the Ruby Shard, yeah. Personally, I'm a fan of not playing shards and conceding.
Why don't you ever
be a Wild and Blood Shard, man?
Penta, why don't you ever do that for me when I play you then?
Because you're Freezy wins. Easy peasy.
Because you're fish.
So, Forge of Katic coming down. Forge of Katic not just coming down and returning a card, either an artifact or a dwarf to InfamousNeo's deck, but it's immediately followed up by a Construct Foreman making a Warbot. So 4 power and toughness coming down. This is turn 1 from InfamousNeo, and TheUndererDarker looking to follow up into that with something here. It's a pretty strong play for attack and defense right off the bat.
Yeah, that's a really aggressive start from Neo there. It's pretty hard to deal with 4 power on turn 1.
Yeah, it's interesting that he didn't want to keep Forge of Katic around for some sort of other, like, just ramping into things.
Yeah, it looks like he's decided he's just going to go beat down this game.
Which is maybe the correct decision, bearing in mind that his opponent is playing Daughter of Stars, typically the slowest champion in a game, as her charge power requires 10 charges.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the great things about at least looking at, even if you don't know what decks are in this format, looking at the champion, taking a guess off of how fast or slow they're going to be.
Well, playing with that champion, Neo is probably going some type of fast beatdowns.
Absolutely. Looks like Dementia Daisy's on the board now, as well as Crackling Wit we've seen played. A little bit of just like kind of insanity coming down from TheUndererDarker. Has a defensive board now. InfamousNeo won't be able to get as much damage through as he was before, and now he's kind of hurting for... He's on a clock, because his deck is slowly going to get buried down by the daisies, and it looks like charge gain from TheUndererDarker.
Yeah, the daisies are going to put some trouble to Neo here with this start, though.
Yeah, I mean, the second daisy is definitely going to up that challenge, though. Like, it's going to make it a lot more difficult.
So what are your guys' outlook on milling type decks for this tournament?
I honestly don't know. This is not one that I expected here. I think it's really cool that we get to see this one.
Yeah. InfamousNeo tunnels a card. We can actually see it, I believe. Yeah, we can. That's man, it's kind of rough to see a tunneled troop down there like that. In particular, it's popped up now on Neo's side of the board. The Fishersmith comes up. He's going to play the Blaze Elemental. He's just playing as much as possible to get extra damage through. None of these troops capable of actually killing the daisies. Yeah, so the daisies get in front of the Warbot and the Blaze Elemental. 3 damage gets through, putting under on 12. But again, after this turn, it's going to be difficult for InfamousNeo to do much. He's going to be stuck with only 3 troops that can attack, and with 2 of them blocked, he gets 1 damage through. It's pretty rough space here.
Yeah, these are probably the most important cards in this matchup, or certainly at least the line of play that Neo's taken here with the double Dementia Daisies. Until Neo's able to mount a little more aggression on the field, he's going to be just getting through for 1 a turn. Definitely favors Underer at this point.
Yeah. On the off chance that the 10-minute mark is passed here, if your guys' opponents haven't shown up, I think it's safe to say that's that.
Yeah, and I see also we've got some confirm registration questions. I guess Zuprin's taking care of it though. All right, so Neo's just playing another shard here. Looks like he's going to attack in with all of his troops.
He is. He's 1 shard away from being able to pull off big Ruby plays, though. So that's kind of important to take a look at and be excited for. The Daisies, however, taking him down. It's a little bit hard to actually see how many cards are left in InfamousNeo's deck with this giant bearded headman in front of the just sitting there, just like he doesn't care.
Yeah,
we don't know. We don't know his real life total. Yeah, usually you don't expect to see too much mill, but yeah, unfortunately, that's the life total that actually matters here. We see
I'm gonna message him in his stream and ask him to move his face, but yeah, because it's very, very rarely relevant. But oh, he's got 36 cards. He's got 36 cards left. There we go.
We just need to ask him to lean over.
There it is.
Just lean like that all day, please. So after all the blocks are said and done this turn, Crackling Bolt comes down, instantly answered by a downvote, Verdict of the Ancient King saying no thank you. So the Dementia Daisies will stay on the board. UndererDarker getting closer and closer to slowing this game even further down with the charge power of Daughter of Stars. So there we go. A shard played, 4 more cards disappearing. Phoenix Guard Messenger hitting the board, another blocker, and actually one that can trade with Fisher Smith or Construct Foreman here for a positive result.
Yeah, it's like the sensei of this format is able to block and draw a card for you, and even a little better because it's got the flight on it.
Coach, it's 10 minutes. Yeah. If your opponents aren't online, guys, 10 minutes have passed. Just put yourself in as the wins. Your opponent was claiming your deck is set 1 only and doesn't want to play you. That seems like something you're going to have to message 5 shards about. That seems really strange. So another troop tunneled by InfamousNeo. This one might help change the board positively. This time he can't swing in. He doesn't want to lose the Fisher Smith. With the way Scrap Tech Brawler works, when it surfaces, InfamousNeo will gain 3 bonus resources for the turn and be able to play anything, at least at this case, up to 8 resource in cost, giving him a ton of options here.
So we see Mentor the Song from the other side here from Underer. He's really just got a lot of value troops for blocking, and he's really putting a dent on Neo's ability to get in there. We see the 6th shard for Neo now, and here comes the Zakir. That was one that I expected to see. There's your first dragon of the tournament, folks.
Yeah, there's Zakir. Still, already at 8 charges for Underer, so he's getting pretty close to just knocking all of those troops back to InfamousNeo's hand, and things are going to be a little rough for him to replay all of those at that point. Underer in no pressure to attack, but if he cannot remove Zakir off the board this turn, then Zakir is going to create a Power of Zakir card at the beginning of Infamous Neo's ready phase, and all of those are absolutely insane and possibly will just... What's the one in particular? Void all non-dragon...
Voiding all non-dragons, yeah.
Oh no, the Time Wave. It doesn't matter. Zakir gets lost in time, goes back to Infamous Neo's hand, and is now an 8-cost troop. Meaning Infamous Neo is 2 resources off being able to play that, as well as the Warbot getting knocked back. Not a good time. Not a good time for Infamous Neo. He's going to attack here. An interesting attack because none of this damage can get through. It might be that he's signaling something here. We have the handguard up for you guys. This is actually to set up for a cannon volley. The daisies are going to be removed from the board. The Time Wave, of course, taking Underer down to 1 resource for the turn, so even if he's holding a verdict, it's not going to save him here.
Yeah, even if he had Shogoth, wouldn't be able to because he's only got 2 cards.
That's correct. So things are looking up a bit. Like, Infamous Neo has stabilized, but we still don't know what Underer has in store for him. In addition, still developing his board state, he's going to be able to get a lot of cards here when the Phoenix Guard messengers are either removed from play or killed, and the Mentor of the Song transforms itself into an Oracle Song. That's 4 bonus card draws for Underer here. Still has blockers, can still trade easily with Construct Foreman and Fisher Smith. Attacking last turn seemed to be a bit of a mistake from Dark, though. Not gonna lie, because it made it possible for the daisies to get cannonballed.
I think he was just never planning on blocking with the Mentor there, and he was hoping that Neo would bite and let him draw the cards off the Oracle Song there. Neo wasn't going to have any of it, but it's probably what he was hoping to do.
That's true. Here comes Zakir, though, once again, on the board and ready. Infamous Neo not attacking, doesn't want to give any cards to Underer because another Time Wave at this point is devastating. We know he still has the Warbot in hand from the original Time Wave, and other things are going up.
Yeah, and we're real close to seeing this champion power fire off. Yeah, Underer is really being able to just slow Neo down and just stop every single major threat that he's had. Neo had the fast start. He has answered the daisies, which is really good, but unfortunately he's just not able to get a whole lot of things to stick to the board yet.
Mentor of the Song still swinging in. No cards left in Underer's hand now, so if at any point that Zakir returns, it might... What's up?
He has 10 charge power.
He does have 10 charge power, but he can only remove Zakir once in that case, right? Looks like Infamous Neo is going for the swing here, though. He's going in with all of his troops. He's going to let the Phoenix Guard messengers block if they want to draw those cards, because he realizes those cards are going to be going back to hand, and he doesn't really have the option to replay them at this point. He'll be able to get a bit of damage through with the Scrap Tech Brawler. Things are tight here. Infamous Neo's got a lot of cards in hand. Here comes the Warbot Dropship, of all things. That's an interesting play. 3/7 for 7. Very little in the format outside of Time Wave, actually. Deals with it very effectively. Compost, I suppose. It gives all Warbots on Infamous Neo's side of the board flight, and every time it attacks, it'll create 2 bonus Warbots. But I have to imagine that without a Time Wave in hand, Underer is going to do something about that. He's going to have to use his charge power. The Azure Fate Sorceress comes down. That Azure Fate Sorceress has what gems in it, JJ?
I believe it is Flight and Subterfuge here. Yep, it is Subterfuge. So that is the Subterfuge. Just so everyone who remembers, is the mill gem. So Underer is definitely dedicated to the mill theme here.
Yeah, he does seem pretty dedicated to burying cards out of his opponent's deck. Again, I believe Infamous Neo is looking at sub 20 cards at this point. Wow. might be rough here if oh, he's gonna throw the Azurfade in front of the Warbot dropship and then play Crackling Wit. It's a tough spot for Under here. He's gonna have to almost certainly use his charge power to survive one more turn.
I think it's curious that he would put the Azure Fate in front there. I mean, I'm sure he did it because he was weak, but it seems like that's important if he's trying to.
It seems like he's only going to take 3 more damage, right? Like,
yeah.
InfamousNeo, of course, puts down a Warbot here, the Warbot that was time rippled days and days ago, and we're in a situation where like I can't think of a card that saves Under aside from his charge power here. I'm not actually sure that the charge power is on its own good enough, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not sure there's a way to stabilize here. InfamousNeo is at 9 resources and is able to play anything. Zidu would be scary, but not enough. Yeah, I like without looking at the deck list, I'm not sure. Another Azure Fate. If InfamousNeo is close to his last card, that could be enough on its own.
Do we know how many cards are left in Neo's deck now?
We don't. It sounds like he's probably verbally telling people, but we can't actually see his deck at this point. Yeah, because as everyone knows, InfamousNeo, despite being a cool guy, is a scumbag, and I'm gonna let him know that he's a scumbag later. For anyone that doesn't know, me and Paul are pretty good friends, so I'm just gonna be trolling him by saying that I don't actually think he's scum.
So here we see the other end of the Scrap Tech Brawler. He gets to play a free troop and the Zakir out there. Zakir still has lots of powerful abilities that we could get. I hope we get to see one of those this next turn. If we can just stick around for a turn. See a Crackling Wit to try to dig a little bit deeper. And just a charge. That is not going to be good enough against a Zakir.
Yeah, the Zakir here is going to create a Power of Zakir card. In this case, it looks like it has created the Glimpse of Insanity, which will void all non-dragon cards, meaning Zakir will get in for 5 damage for free here. Mentor of the Song doesn't actually go to the grave, so it doesn't transform into an Oracle Song, and InfamousNeo takes first game of his first round, and they'll be getting into their next match here pretty soon, their next game pretty soon.
And again, I just wasn't able to see it. Do we know how many cards were in his deck at the end of that?
It is hard to say. I'll ask him in chat.
Okay. I'm curious how close the mill got there. Okay, well, we're at sideboarding now.
This is the reserves phase, yes. Two packs from JJ every time he uses a non-hex-related term is his promise, so he is up to 4 currently. I'll forgive him for using mill, despite the fact that it is not a hex term.
What term are we supposed to use for that in this game?
Who knows? Madness. Barry.
Madness?
Yeah.
I suppose Barry is fine.
He's still not going to tell me how many cards is in his deck. What a scumbag. 17. He had 17. I told him I didn't have audio. I unmuted it, and I heard him saying that he had 17. Typical InfamousNeo.
Yeah, you're getting backlash, Penta. The people are liking the word mill.
Well, people are wrong. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a great word. it's an awesome word, and yeah, they use it in every game. That's fine. But you're all wrong, which is the gist of it. Yeah, that's why I said I won't give him too much flack for that term, though, guys.
But just that one.
So what do you think can go differently this next go around?
Well, after reserves, I have to wonder if Dark has an answer to the kind of aggression that InfamousNeo is pulling out. Like he looks like he's ready for most aggression, but maybe not. Maybe not like Zakir aggression. Zakir is insanely powerful, and there's no real.
There's no. Real
You know what? You know what? Might have Typhoon Galleons in main or reserves, and Typhoon Galleon could trade with Zakir or force damage through very quickly. Also, possibly an earlier set of like an earlier Azurfate could be good enough. It's hard to say.
I feel like Typhoon Galleon would be a fine card to bring in if he's got it. But the problem is, I mean, he'll just never trade if Neo doesn't need to. It would be
but he can kill Neo before, like, because Zakir is assuming that he gets 1 or 2 turns to attack. If
right.
The power of Zakir card isn't Glimpse of Madness or the Dragon Breath, he should be okay. I should remember what all the power of Zakir cards are, but I'm bad.
No, you're fine. But yeah, if he's able to outrace Neo by just going with the flight there on the Typhoon Galleon, that might be able to do it.
Okay, so they're going into game 2 now?
Yeah, game 2. Not only is it game 2, but I realized that with the card block, while InfamousNeo is keeping a crazy hand. For those of you with the card blocker up, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a pretty insane keep. His opponent's trying to drive him insane, so maybe that's the way to go. Embrace the madness. The power of Zakir cards. Which ones were I thinking of? I was thinking of Glimpse of Insanity, and what's the other one? Not Fire Servant. The Flame Breath would deal with the nonsense. So, InfamousNeo getting that. Wow. The double Forge of Kadok off of a crackling vortex into Drew's Unrelenting Fist turn 1. That's going to be a thing for Under to deal with. Sapphire has no way of dealing with artifacts in this format.
Yeah, I think that just turn 1 Fist by itself is probably good enough. It's in before Verdict would be able to stop it, or downvote, as Penta likes to call it. And there's probably not a way that he's going to be able to outrace the Fist here.
Well, it really depends. Like I said, Typhoon Galleon, I think, actually has a chance of racing Drew's, but at this point, Drew's is going to have enough counters on it. For anyone that doesn't know, Drew's Unrelenting Fist, a 3-cost artifact that comes into play exhausted. Every turn, it will get a Fist counter on it, and you can pay 3 and exhaust it. It's a 2-cost artifact? It is a 2-cost artifact.
It's 2-cost, yeah.
But it can pay 3 to exhaust it, and it randomly punches your opponent or one of the troops your opponent controls, dealing damage to the number of Fist counters on it. So this Mentor of the Song, for example, might be the target. InfamousNeo will go to his ready phase. He will put a single Fist counter onto Drew's here, and then he will be able to exhaust it by double exhausting his Forge of Kadoks. And should be 2 counters now, right? Wasn't it already at 1? Yeah, it gets the counter when it exhausts. Got it. So it deals 2 damage to either Daughter of Stars or to Mentor of the Song. This time it chose Mentor of the Song, and removes that troop from the board, making it hard for Darker to race. Did the call die?
I can hear you now. Okay.
I mean, it might have died just for you.
Okay.
So with Drew's
So,
Unrelenting Fist, it is a steep investment of paying 3 each turn to keep it.
Yeah, well, see, the general thought process is that because you can usually only play it on turn 2 and then only activate it on turn 3, that aggression will usually beat it out, and then control has some answers. But in this particular
in
format,
this format,
Sapphire loses a lot of its normal options of dealing with it. Ogth, the Great Spawn, however, can suck up some Drew's counters like nobody's business. Um, and when back to what I was saying, it's normally like Drew's takes such a long time to fire up that bigger troops can eventually deal with it, or stuff happens to make it okay. But InfamousNeo looks like he just looked at his Scrap Tech Brawler, wondering why he couldn't play it. Fun fact: he can't play it because he has no Ruby threshold. Anyway, like in this particular case, Ogth just sucked up that damage, right? Because of its big back end. Eventually, Drew's Unrelenting Fist is going to be big enough to deal with it, but until then, Ogth is going to be making InfamousNeo bury a card off the top of his deck every turn, and if he ever gets to 10 cards buried, it will create a spawn of a Thoyug every time that it does so. And when it starts doing that, it's going to create more and more targets for Drew's. So even though InfamousNeo has a very powerful way of attacking his opponent on the board, it is going to have multiple targets in the troops. Each troop and the champion itself has an equal chance of being hit. It's a lot of pressure being put on here. The Ruby Shard found by InfamousNeo, though, is going to improve his options for the turn. So let's see. He's going to play that Scrap Tech Brawler. That'll give him the 3 resources for the turn, and he will immediately activate Drew's Unrelenting Fist again with it. Unrelentingly, it is going to hit Underer in the face. And that's the last thing he wants here, because 2 more shots from Drew's in succession will cost him the game immediately. He will run out of health. And as you all know, running out of health is a win condition.
as is burying all the cards from the top of the deck.
I thought it was called milling.
Despite his already very generous donations to the cup, Technophy has just agreed to donate 2 more, which is very generous of him, so everyone give him a round of applause. I think you've already generated so much you might be into primal territory if you keep it up, though.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I am nowhere near somebody else in this call.
Alright, so that Phoenix Guard Messenger is swinging in a lot of pressure here. InfamousNeo is at 4 possible resources on the board. Looks like that immediate reaction from him, he didn't draw what he wanted to. He's swinging with his Scrap Tech Brawler? Wait, what? Oh, and he gets time waved. Wow. That's not how I expected that to play out. Oh, wow. And in an interesting little play there, Underer used the second activation of his time wave to knock back his own Phoenix Guard Messenger so that he would draw a card because it's left play. That's a pretty interesting little combo there that doesn't really fit too well in set 1-2 constructed, but it actually looks pretty good here.
Yeah, it's a key, specifically worded, when this leaves play, draw a card. It doesn't matter how it actually leaves play. So you can bounce it, you can have it killed off, even voided. That is leaving play.
That's true. Looking at InfamousNeo's hand, though, well, I don't know. We're just waiting for that Drew's to hit one more time, but it's a pretty bad situation for Underer here. Every activation of Drew's is one step closer to the end of all times, and it looks like Drew's actually just punches him in the face instead of hitting the 3 troops on board. InfamousNeo is going to take down round 1, 2-0. even though in game 2 he kept a 1 shard, no threshold hand.
And that is why people are very excited about Forge of Kadok. The things you can do with it, but I don't know how consistent it is and how often decks will try to use this type of strategy in the future. But it gets interesting.